You know what the so-called experts in the prepping world don't want you to know? All that fancy tactical equipment they're trying to sell you isn't what's going to keep you alive when everything falls apart. The real lifesavers are those boring, overlooked products gathering dust on the bottom shelves of your local supermarket. The ones that cost less than your morning coffee. I've spent more than 10 years deep in the preparedness lifestyle, and I'm about to share something that might completely change how you think about emergency readiness. We're going to walk through 21 incredibly inexpensive items that could become more precious than gold during a legitimate crisis. And trust me, these aren't the usual suspects everyone talks about. Pay really close attention when we get to number 17. I'm willing to bet you've never once considered stockpiling it, yet it could end up being one of the most crucial things sitting in your emergency supplies. Why the small stuff actually matters. Let me paint a picture for you that really drives this point home. Picture this. A brutal ice storm sweeps through your region and knocks out the electrical grid for 11 solid days. You've done your homework. You've got food stored, water reserves are good. Maybe you've even invested in a generator that's keeping things running. But here's the thing nobody thinks about until it's too late. What about garbage bags? I know it sounds almost silly when you first hear it, but stop and actually think through the logistics for a second. Without electricity, that refrigerator of yours transforms into a biological nightmare zone within 2 days, tops. You're suddenly dealing with melting snow for water, managing human waste without working plumbing, and trying to maintain any semblance of sanitation in impossible conditions. In that scenario, those cheap plastic bags become more valuable than just about anything else you thought to stockpile. This is the exact moment when it hits you. Real preparedness isn't about dropping thousands on solar panel systems or constructing underground bunkers. It's about having the unglamorous, practical essentials that transform mere survival into something actually livable. Item number 1. The ancient currency that never stops being useful. Let's kick this off with something you definitely have sitting in your kitchen right now, but I'd bet serious money you don't have anywhere near enough of it. I'm talking about salt. Just regular plain table salt that you can grab for under $1 at pretty much any grocery store. Before you start thinking, yeah, I already know about salt, hang on and hear me out completely. Salt is genuinely one of those miraculous substances that accomplishes way more than making your eggs taste better in the morning. First off, it's an incredibly effective preservation method for meat and vegetables when refrigeration isn't an option. In a situation where the power grid is down, understanding how to cure meat using salt could literally mean the difference between your family going hungry or eating well for weeks. It's absolutely essential for making jerky, which happens to be one of the best survival foods you can have because of its shelf life and calorie density. But salt's usefulness extends far beyond food prep. You can use it to clean and disinfect wounds when you've run out of medical supplies. It works as a tooth cleaner when all the toothpaste is gone. Just mix it with some water and use it to scrub away plaque and bacteria. It melts ice on your walkways and steps to prevent dangerous falls during winter emergencies. You can even use it to extend the lifespan of your clothing by preventing mildew from taking hold in damp, humid storage conditions. Here's what makes salt absolutely critical, though. It literally never spoils. Not ever. If you keep it dry, you can store salt for decades, and it'll be just as good as the day you bought it. In any long-term disaster scenario where modern refrigeration becomes a thing of the past, salt becomes absolutely indispensable for food preservation. Our ancestors understood this truth intimately. Salt was actual currency for thousands of years across multiple civilizations. Did you know the word salary actually derives from salt? That's how valuable it was historically, and it could easily become that valuable again in the right circumstances. So when I recommend stockpiling salt, I'm not suggesting you grab one extra container next grocery trip. I'm talking about acquiring 20 or 30 pounds of the stuff, minimum. It's dirt cheap, it never goes bad, and it has more practical applications than almost anything else we're going to discuss today. Item number 2. The underestimated liquid that does everything. Number 2 on our list is vinegar, and I'm specifically talking about white distilled vinegar. You can pick up a whole gallon for around $3 at most stores, which is an absolute steal for something this versatile. Vinegar is genuinely one of those miracle products that performs way beyond what you'd expect for the price point. It functions as a powerful cleaning agent that can cut through grease and grime. It's a legitimate disinfectant that kills bacteria and viruses. It preserves food through pickling and acts as a completely natural weed killer for your garden. On the medical front, you can use it to treat minor burns and insect stings, which helps prevent those small injuries from becoming infected. Mix it with water in a spray bottle and you've got a natural deodorizer for your living space, your clothing, or your gear. It removes rust from metal tools, which means it helps you maintain all your other equipment in working condition. And the best part? It's completely safe, non-toxic, and remains shelf-stable for years without any special storage requirements. My personal recommendation is to keep at least 10 gallons of vinegar stored at any given time. I know that might sound excessive at first, but you'll understand why when you realize how quickly you'll burn through it if you're using it to clean your home, preserve your garden harvest, and maintain basic hygiene standards without access to commercial cleaning products. Plus, vinegar makes an excellent barter item because most people simply don't think to stockpile it until they desperately need it for sanitation or food preservation. That's when its value skyrockets. Item number 3, the miracle powder. Nobody appreciates. Enough baking soda is our third item, and it's another incredibly cheap product that only costs about $1 per box. Most people think of it as just a baking ingredient, but that's barely scratching the surface. Baking soda is essentially the Swiss Army knife of household products. Yes, you can use it for cooking and baking, obviously, but its unique chemical properties make it useful for an astounding range of applications. It's excellent for brushing your teeth when toothpaste runs out. It absorbs odors in small, enclosed spaces like nothing else. You can clean dishes with it using minimal water, which becomes crucial during water shortages. From a health perspective, it treats heartburn and acid reflux, conditions that become surprisingly common when people are eating emergency rations and dealing with high-stress situations. It can extinguish small grease fires safely. It even acts as a natural pesticide in your survival garden, protecting your food supply from destructive insects. Like both salt and vinegar, baking soda lasts indefinitely if you store it properly in airtight containers away from moisture. I'd suggest having 20 or 30 boxes minimum tucked away in your storage area. And honestly, you could justify having even more. Here's a pro tip for water conservation that most people don't know. If you're dealing with a water shortage and can't shower regularly, baking soda makes an exceptional dry shampoo. Just rub into your scalp, let it sit for about a minute to absorb the oils, then brush it out thoroughly. It absorbs oil and eliminates odor without using a single drop of precious water. It's not exactly glamorous, but when you're on day 8 or 9 without a proper shower, trust me, it'll feel like an absolute luxury. Item number 4, the sweet stuff that's also medicine. Number 4 might catch you off guard a bit. I'm talking about sugar, not fancy honey or expensive maple syrup, just plain white granulated sugar. You can grab a 4-pound bag for under $3 at most grocery stores, which is an incredible value. Sugar is another one of those magical items that stores essentially forever if you keep it dry and protected from pests. A sealed container of sugar in a cool, dry place will still be perfectly usable decades from now. Beyond the obvious application of making food and beverages taste better and boosting morale during difficult times, sugar is actually a remarkable wound treatment that most people have no idea about. Legitimate medical studies have demonstrated that packing deep wounds with granulated sugar can prevent dangerous infections and actually promote faster healing. The way it works is through osmosis. It draws moisture out of the wound tissue, creating an environment where bacteria simply cannot survive and reproduce. Sugar also provides quick energy when you need a calorie spike to keep going. It's essential for preserving fruits through canning and jam making. If you have the knowledge and equipment, it can even be fermented to produce alcohol for trade or medical use. In any kind of barter situation, sugar becomes a luxury commodity pretty quickly. Think about how incredibly valuable a cup of real coffee with actual sugar would be to a desperate neighbor after weeks of doing without. It's a comfort item that provides psychological relief during traumatic times, but it doubles as a legitimate medical supply. That's a rare combination. Item number 5, the shiny roll of endless possibilities. Moving on to number 5, we've got aluminum foil. A standard roll costs maybe $4 or $5, and honestly, it's worth every single penny when you consider the versatility. Aluminum foil is waterproof, heat-resistant, and highly reflective. 3 properties that make it incredibly useful in survival situations. The range of applications is genuinely unmatched by almost any other single product. You can cook food directly on hot coals using aluminum foil, which eliminates the need to carry heavy pans and cookware. You can fashion it into improvised bowls or plates when you run out of the real thing. You can create a makeshift funnel for pouring liquids without spilling. You can use it as a signal mirror in emergency situations, reflecting sunlight toward rescue aircraft or search parties from miles away. It preserves food by creating airtight seals. It protects sensitive plants from frost damage in a survival garden. You can even use it to sharpen scissors by folding it multiple times and cutting through it repeatedly. The heavy-duty version is absolutely worth the extra $1 or $2 because it's significantly more durable and can be reused multiple times before it breaks down. I recommend keeping at least a dozen rolls stored away, mixing both regular thickness and heavy-duty types for different applications. In a genuine grid-down scenario, aluminum foil becomes surprisingly valuable because it solves such a wide variety of problems with one simple, malleable material that takes up very little storage space. Item number 6, the clingy plastic that protects everything. Plastic wrap is our 6th item, and it costs about the same as aluminum foil, but it serves completely different purposes that make it equally essential. The main advantage of plastic wrap is that it creates truly airtight seals, which becomes absolutely vital for maintaining hygiene standards during emergencies. You can use it to protect wounds and keep bandages dry while you're working outside or moving through rain. It waterproofs important items like documents, electronics, or matches. It helps with food storage by preventing spoilage and keeping pests away from your supplies. Here's something clever most people never think of. You can use plastic wrap as an emergency greenhouse cover to keep seedlings warm and protect them from frost during temperature drops. This could be crucial for maintaining a survival garden during unpredictable weather. It's extremely lightweight, takes up almost no space in your storage area, and stores indefinitely without degrading. It might not seem like hardcore survival preparation compared to knives and fire starters, but you'll desperately want it when you need to seal a leaking pipe or keep a medicinal poultice in place on an injury. Item number 7, the garbage bag. That's actually a survival tool. I mentioned this earlier, but trash bags deserve their own detailed discussion on this list because they're so important. Not just any trash bags, though. You need variety in your stockpile. Get the cheap, thin bags for regular garbage disposal and basic sanitation needs. Get the heavy-duty contractor bags for serious work that requires durability. Get the medium-sized kitchen bags for everyday use and general purposes. Here's why trash bags are so incredibly valuable beyond their obvious purpose. When you cut them open, they become waterproof shelter materials or ground tarps. They act as effective ground covers to keep you dry while sleeping outdoors or in unheated buildings. They function as emergency rain ponchos when you get caught in bad weather without proper gear. You can use them as water collectors in a transpiration bag setup to harvest moisture from plants. They serve as blackout curtains when you need to maintain light discipline for security reasons. They can be improvised into gloves for handling dangerous materials. They even become emergency toilets when used with a bucket and some sawdust or dirt. A box of contractor-grade bags costs roughly $15 for 32 bags. That works out to less than 50 cents per bag for something that could literally save your life from hypothermia by keeping you dry. You should absolutely have at least 3 boxes of the heavy-duty type stored away, plus several boxes of regular kitchen bags for lighter duties. Trust me when I say you'll go through these much faster than you think in an actual emergency because suddenly you're using them for 10 or 15 different purposes instead of just collecting trash. Item number 8. The old school light source that never fails. Number 8 is candles. Simple, cheap, traditional candles that have been lighting human homes for thousands of years. You can get a pack of emergency candles for under $5, or grab taper candles and tea lights at dollar stores for even less. Candles provide light, obviously, which is their primary function. But they also generate heat in small, enclosed spaces, more heat than you might expect. They can be used for basic cooking in a pinch if you have a proper stand or holder. They help with navigation in the dark when flashlights fail. They create a profound psychological sense of normalcy and comfort during incredibly stressful situations, which shouldn't be underestimated. The beautiful thing about candles is they store essentially forever if you keep them away from extreme heat that might cause melting or warping. I personally have candles that are over a decade old, and they still burn perfectly fine without any issues. Mix up your candle types to cover different specific needs. Get some long-burning pillar candles for duration and sustained light over many hours. Get some tea lights for heating small amounts of water or food in makeshift setups. Get some emergency candles specifically designed for reliability and weather resistance. From a barter perspective, when someone has been sitting in complete darkness for a week straight, a simple candle is going to be worth dramatically more than what you originally paid for it. Light becomes precious incredibly quickly. Item number 9. The paper product. Everyone panicked over. Number 9 is something that completely vanished from store shelves back in 2020 and taught a whole lot of people a hard lesson about preparedness. I'm talking about toilet paper. Everyone jokes and memes about the toilet paper hoarding that happened during the pandemic, but there was actually a very legitimate reason people panicked over it. You really truly don't appreciate toilet paper until you suddenly don't have access to it anymore. A 12-pack of decent quality toilet paper costs somewhere around $8 to $12 depending on the brand you choose. That's really not a huge investment for something that's absolutely essential for sanitation, hygiene, and maintaining morale during difficult times. How much should you actually stockpile? At absolute minimum, you want enough for 3 to 6 months for every single person in your household. Do the math on how much your household uses in a typical week, multiply it out by the number of weeks you want to prepare for, and that gives you your baseline target. Store it in a completely dry location, and it will literally last for years without any degradation. There's no expiration date stamped on toilet paper packages because it doesn't go bad. Now, there are alternatives like washable cloth wipes that people used historically, but toilet paper is by far the easiest and most hygienic method for waste disposal, especially if water becomes scarce and you can't properly wash and sanitize cloth alternatives. The convenience and sanitation factor make it worth stockpiling. Item number 10. The fire starter you can count on matches are our 10th item. Not just any matches, though. You specifically want the strike anywhere kind, if you can still find them. They're getting harder to locate. And you definitely want waterproof or storm matches for your emergency kits. A box of waterproof matches costs around $6 to $8 for approximately 25 matches. That might seem a bit pricey when you break it down per match, but these things will light in wind, rain, and even snow. They're absolutely worth the investment for your bug-out bags and emergency kits where reliability is paramount. Regular matches are perfectly fine too for backup supplies and everyday use. You can buy them by the dozen at dollar stores for next to nothing, and they work great under normal conditions. Matches don't take much space at all. They last for years and years if kept dry and protected from moisture. And they're completely foolproof fire-starting tools that anyone can use. Even if you have butane lighters and ferrocerium rods and all the fancy modern fire-starting gear, matches serve as a reliable backup option that requires absolutely zero skill or practice to use effectively. Stock up heavily on both waterproof and regular matches because you want redundancy and multiple backup options when it comes to the absolutely critical ability to make fire on demand. Item number 11. The pocket-sized flame machine lighters are number 11, and I'm specifically talking about disposable lighters like the classic Bic-style versions you see everywhere. You can get these for $1 or $2 each, sometimes even less if you buy in bulk quantities. Lighters are incredibly compact, remarkably reliable, and they work in conditions where matches might struggle or fail completely. A single disposable lighter can provide literally thousands of lights before it finally runs out of fuel. My personal approach to lighters is to buy them by the dozen and scatter them absolutely everywhere throughout my life. Put them in your emergency bags, every single vehicle you own, every room of the house, jacket pockets, toolboxes, desk drawers, everywhere. They're so cheap and so useful that there's absolutely no reason not to have 30 or 40 of them tucked away in various locations. In any kind of barter situation, a working lighter is going to be incredibly valuable to someone who doesn't have access to one, because fire is literally life in a survival scenario. Item number 12. The plastic bag that organizes your life. Number 12 is a bit different from what we've covered so far. I'm talking about Ziploc bags and storage bags in various sizes. A box of gallon-sized bags costs around $4 for 40 bags. That works out to just 10 cents per bag for something that has dozens of practical applications. These bags keep food fresh and protected from pests. They organize small items so you can actually find things when you need them. They waterproof important documents like birth certificates and insurance papers. They store seeds for next year's garden. They protect electronics and batteries from moisture damage. The list of uses just goes on and on. The freezer bags are particularly worth getting because they're significantly thicker and more durable than regular storage bags. You can actually wash and reuse them multiple times if you're careful and gentle with them. Get multiple sizes to cover different needs, from sandwich bags all the way up to the 2-gallon size if you can find them. These bags are incredibly space-efficient to store. They last indefinitely without degrading, and you'll find yourself reaching for them constantly in any kind of emergency situation, whether it's to ration food portions or keep gear dry during wet conditions. Item number 13. The silver tape that fixes almost everything. Duct tape is our 13th item. The running joke has always been that duct tape fixes everything. And while that's not technically 100% accurate, it's honestly not very far off either. A roll of quality duct tape costs around $6 to $8, and it's worth every single penny. Duct tape repairs damaged gear, patches holes in clothing and fabric, secures loose items, creates improvised splints for injuries, removes stubborn splinters, fixes shoes and boots, patches tents and tarps, seals containers and packages, and serves approximately 1,000 other practical uses. The key with duct tape is absolutely getting the good stuff, the name brand, quality versions. Cheap dollar store duct tape falls apart quickly and doesn't stick well when you actually need it to hold. Get recognized brand names that have a thick adhesive layer and strong backing material. It costs more initially, but it actually works reliably when you need it to. Keep at least 10 rolls stored away at any given time, possibly more if you have the space and budget. If you're ever not sure what survival item to prep next, duct tape is an absolute no-brainer that will pay for itself over and over again through countless uses. Item number 14. The rope that's worth its weight in gold. Paracord or general utility cord is number 14. You can get 100 feet of genuine 550 paracord for around $10 to $15, which is incredibly cheap for something so versatile and strong. Paracord has a breaking strength of 550 pounds, hence the 550 designation. And it has multiple inner strands that can be removed and used individually for lighter-duty tasks like fishing line, sewing thread, or dental floss in extreme emergencies. You can use paracord for building shelters, securing gear to packs or vehicles, making traps and snares for catching food, creating clotheslines for drying laundry, crafting repairs equipment, fashioning emergency tourniquets in life-threatening situations, and basically any time you need strong, reliable rope. Keep several hundred feet of paracord stored in your supplies. Also consider stocking up on cheaper utility cord for less critical tasks to save your good paracord for situations where strength and reliability really matter. Cordage is genuinely one of those things humans have needed since the absolute beginning of civilization. It never stops being useful. Item number 15. The tiny tool that saves the day. Number 15 is one that honestly doesn't get talked about nearly enough in survival circles. Safety pins. You can get a container of assorted safety pins for just $2 or $3 at any store. Safety pins repair clothing without needing a needle and thread. They create improvised fishing hooks when you don't have proper tackle. They hold bandages securely in place. They organize small items together. They can be fashioned into zipper pulls when the original breaks off. They serve as emergency fasteners for just about anything you can imagine. They're absolutely tiny. They weigh essentially nothing. They never expire or degrade, and they're incredibly useful in ways you don't think about until you're in the field. This is absolutely one of those items that seems completely insignificant until you desperately need one and don't have it available. Buy a few containers of various sizes and throw them in your storage. You'll be genuinely glad you did when a zipper breaks on your jacket or a strap snaps on your backpack in the middle of nowhere. Item number 16. The disposable dishes that save water. Number 16 is probably the most overlooked item on this entire list, and it's one that people often dismiss as wasteful or frivolous. I'm talking about paper products, specifically paper towels, napkins, and paper plates. A roll of paper towels costs around $2. A pack of paper plates is maybe $4 or $5. These are definitely not long-term survival items for scenarios lasting years, but they're absolutely incredible for short to medium-term situations lasting days or weeks. Here's the critical reason why. In an emergency situation where water is genuinely scarce, or you're actively trying to conserve propane and fuel for cooking, the absolute last thing you want to do is waste precious water and fuel washing dishes after every single meal. Paper plates get used once and you're done. No washing required. Same principle applies to paper towels and napkins. They preserve your water supply for the much higher priorities of drinking and cooking, which could literally be life or death decisions. Plus, paper products have multiple secondary uses beyond their primary function. They can be used as fire starter when crumpled up. They work as wound coverings in emergencies. They serve as improvised filters for debris. They function as cleaning supplies for wiping down surfaces. Having enough paper products for a few weeks or even a month can make a genuinely difficult situation much more manageable by maintaining reasonable sanitation standards without using precious resources like clean water. Item number 17. The surprising luxury that becomes essential. Number 17 is the one I promised earlier would surprise you, and I'm confident most of you never considered this. I'm talking about lip balm. You can get a stick of lip balm for around $1 or $2 at any store. Your lips are comprised of some of the most delicate, sensitive skin on your entire body. When they get severely chapped and cracked, it's not just uncomfortable. It's actually a potential entry point for dangerous infections. Badly chapped lips can make it genuinely difficult to eat and drink properly. They crack open and bleed, and they heal incredibly slowly without proper treatment. Lip balm is small enough to fit anywhere, extremely lightweight, lasts for years in storage, and it has uses that extend far beyond just protecting lips. You can use it as a fire starter because it's essentially petroleum jelly and wax combined. It works as a lubricant for small mechanical items and stuck zippers. It provides protection for minor cuts and scrapes. It prevents blisters on your feet when applied to friction points. It even serves as a moisture barrier against windburn on exposed skin. In any kind of barter situation, small luxury items like lip balm become surprisingly valuable because they offer immediate, noticeable physical relief and comfort. Stock up on these things. Get a couple dozen tubes and scatter them in bags, pockets, vehicles, and storage containers throughout your preparations.